Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another book review. Today we are talking about Tananarive's The Between. I read this a long time ago, but I recently spoke to RJ Joseph on a live stream. You can check that out on the channel. But I recently spoke to her, and it made me want to reread this book. I realized I never reviewed it. I don't know what I was doing at the time because I read it since I started this channel, but anyways. And I wanted to reread it, not really to find out if it was as good as I remember, but because I enjoyed it so much. I tend to go back to books that I 5-star, that I love, even if it is very fresh in my mind. You're looking at the same person who can watch Howard the Duck back to back to back multiple times in one day and just can be completely content with life and never get bored. I'm going to put this up. So, The Between is about a man named Hilton, who when he was younger, his Nana passed away, saving him from drowning. Before that happened, and this is right up front, if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, then scrub about 30 seconds. So, he comes home one day, finds her on the floor, she has passed away, he runs to go get help, and when he brings help back, Nana is alive. So then a little bit later, they go out to the beach, they go out to the water, he goes in, gets caught in an undertow, she swims out to save him. And then it jumps ahead in time to Hilton's adult life. He has a wife named Dede, 2 children, Kaya and Jamil. Both of them are... I loved reading about this family. I think that's the most important part here. It very much has notes of Pet Sematary in that the family dynamic is amazing. Whether the family's having in good spirits or in bad spirits or absolutely terrified for their lives, no matter what, I loved and cared for this family. Dede is a fantastically dynamic character. I think she's handled very, very well, and so is Hilton. Hilton goes through a lot of stuff, and for the longest time you're wondering whether or not everything that's happening is in his head or if it's actually going on. There's quite a bit to substantiate his claims that it's real, and then there's a lot of discussion about mental health. And I think that's important also, especially in a book with a male lead character talking about not toxic masculinity, but talking about those things that, we're told, that our emotions don't matter, men don't cry, all that nonsense. But I want to get back to the actual content of the book. I was on edge throughout this entire thing, and I had read it before. I remembered so much of it. The ending is absolutely brutal. It is upsetting. I don't want to keep comparing it to Pet Sematary, but it does have that vibe. It is as good as Pet Sematary, which brings me to the next point. Why isn't Do a much, much bigger name? I know she's no, small timer, but why isn't she why isn't she as big as Stephen King? She definitely writes better than Anne Rice. I will say that in fact, I wish I could go back in time and trade the popularities there. I would love to have seen Tananarive become as big as Anne Rice was at one point in time. I believe they both wrote about a whole series about vampires. I'm not sure. I'm going to go through Du's back catalog. I'm going to read everything that she's ever written. I really enjoy her presence on Twitter. She's a lot of fun. She doesn't just talk about her books. She's a lot of fun to watch. I think one of my favorite videos from her is like a dance challenge or showing her kids, what she used to dance like in the 80s and 90s. It's a very, very, very fun thing. But anyways, the book itself, I don't want to talk too much about spoilers, but at one point in time, the Hilton and Dede, well, actually it's Dede, starts getting letters from a very racist individual, and there's a lot of hate and vehemence, and I'm going to come and get you, and the N-word and all that is very threatening letters. The way that story arc progresses, I thought was brilliant, especially there at the end. I don't want to do a spoiler section. I want you to go, if you have not read this book, you need to go out and you need to try it. It can be a slow burn at times, So if you're expecting action and constant things happening, you're not going to get that. But there's always character development. The pacing is off the chart. So let's go ahead and go to my 3 things I look for in every horror. Since I've already talked about the characters, I love the characters. I even loved Raul, Andres. Every single character that popped up, I really, really liked them. Even the people who worked with Hilton, I liked all of those characters. Stu, so on and so forth. The scene with the homeless man is outstanding. That's a highlight, especially the ending of that scene. I really enjoyed that. Anyway, so the characters are amazing. High point of the book. The pacing is a little, up and down, and that's because it's a slow burn. It's a very creepy, I wouldn't call it quiet horror, but maybe that's the right terminology for it. I wouldn't even really call it a ghost story, and you'll see why when you read it. But I've talked to many people who consider it a ghost story, but I don't. There's multiple reasons for that, but every single last one of them are spoilers, so I will move on to the dread. The dread, as soon as that first letter hits, well, even at the beginning, when you're worried about Nana and Hilton and Nana's death and Hilton, almost drowning, so on and so forth, all that stuff is great, but the dread, I feel the dread mounts and mounts and mounts. But the beauty of the dread is at one point later on in the book, it is alleviated almost completely. But that's what makes the dread skyrocket. You know that they're not okay. And I think that's the brilliance of the ending of this one. You know that something is still wrong. And it's one of those things where it's like watching a horror movie and you're screaming at the screen. It's like, no, make sure the killer's dead. That's not a spoiler. But it's one of those things that I don't know. I had a lot. I just had a blast with this story, so much so that I read it, I would say 6 months ago, and I already reread it because I loved it so much. But have you read The Between by Tananarive? Please let me know whether or not you loved it, hated it, felt meh about it. If you felt any of those things, leave me a comment in detail, and so that we can have a discussion about those things. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you. This has been another review for 31 Days of Halloween. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!